Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome back to my Sims 4 speedbuilding video, or welcome to the channel if you are new here. So in today's video I'm going to be building the world of Copperdale, which is the world that we got from the expansion about the Sims 4 high school years, and I'm going to be building a Copperdale coffee shop and tattoo parlour. So this lot ends up having no bedrooms, however it does have 3 bathrooms. Now the way that I built this one, I made it so it is going to be purely commercial, like there is no residential spaces attached to this lot. If you want to 100%, you could alter it so the upstairs of what ends up being the little coffee shop cafe, you could make that into an apartment if you fancy. But yeah, going into this build, I just basically wanted to sit down and build a coffee shop in this world, because basically I'm someone who, one of my favourite worlds to play in is the world of Copperdale. Like I always find myself opening up a brand new game and starting off in this world. I just love it dearly because it's such a like small town kind of vibe, and I also really like the fact that in some of the different areas there's things you seem to do. Like in one of the neighbourhoods there is like this fairground built into the environment. I just have a lot of fun playing in this particular world, but something that I've always felt that it was missing in a way was, yeah, a little cafe or a little coffee shop. And so I came into this build and I basically ended up doing a part cafe on one side and then part tattoo parlour on the other, and I'm really happy with the way it turned out. And so yeah, I really hope you like it as well. But anyway, moving on from that and getting on and talking a little bit more about the build itself and also what I'm doing right now. So you can see the main shell for both of the buildings came together quite quickly. I must admit, I was actually just using the environment as like my reference for this build, because coming into the build, the world of Copperdale itself, it's got so many different like little fake buildings scattered about, and some of them, they're really like small and just, they're really cutesy. And so for like the main inspiration in terms of the shape and size, yeah, I just basically use some live edit buildings, but then that way as well, I feel like it just seamlessly blends into the environment, and you know, this build doesn't stick out like a sore thumb. But like I said, for this build, my main goal was I really wanted to build a coffee shop in the world of Copperdale. And by the way, on the inside of the coffee shop, I really tried to make it feel like a proper old, just like comfy and homey coffee shop. My inspiration, even though it looks nothing like it, but you know Gilmore Girls, you know Luke's Diner, that was the kind of vibe that I was going for. I wanted it to be like a small town cafe coffee shop on the inside. But yeah, I wanted to build part coffee shop, but then on the second portion I was a little bit unsure at first what I wanted to do. But then I was thinking about high school years, the expansion pack, and you know, all the different things that you can do with your teenagers. And I was thinking, well, since we've got the businesses and hobbies expansion pack, I've only built one tattoo parlour and it's in the world of North Hayden. And I was just thinking, for like gameplay, it might be really fun to have a tattoo parlour in, yeah, like the teen-based world. I was kind of running off the idea of, what about if you've got like a really naughty teenager, or you've got, you know, a teenager that's really rebellious and always skips school and stuff, and maybe you want to use it as like your teen's hangout spot in a way. Maybe they always go next door and they always like grab a cup of coffee, but then I don't know, maybe one of them dares their friends or something one day to go and get a tattoo. I just thought this would be just such a, yeah, cool addition in the world of Copperdale. Now, something that I do want to mention, this build is going to be for my save file. However, initially, I wasn't actually going to have a community lot here in my save. I was going to make it into a residential. Now, pretty much, as some of you are probably aware, but again, you might be new, this might be the first video that you've ever seen of me, but I am in the process of basically rebuilding the whole entire Sims 4. Like every single world, eventually I'm going to completely rebuild, make new families and give existing families makeovers and so on and so forth. But coming into building a save, I've been very strategic with all the different lots I'm going to have in each individual world. I've got them all like mapped out in my head and also partly in my notebook, but I've like planned them all out. So I'm thinking for like gameplay purposes, each different lots, like in all different worlds, how they kind of like tie up, and I'm just thinking for gameplay experience. And basically I always had it in my head that this lot that I'm building on, which is called Town Square Terrace in Copperdale, was going to be one of the start homes, because with building a safe file, the thing is I don't want to make it feel so claustrophobic that you feel like you can't touch anything, because basically my approach to it is I want there to be multiple different already built houses with, you know, pre-existing families that I'm gonna add into the game, like added in there. But then I also want there to be multiple different community lots, but then I don't want it to be so overpacked that you feel like you can't move about. And so my goal has always been to have one starter house in every single world. And I believe when you enter a brand new save file, this is meant to be where I think there's 2 starter houses actually thinking about it in the world of Copperdale, but there is originally a starter home here for, you know, you to move into, and maybe you've got some teenagers and you want to do some like teen focused gameplay, and that was always my plan. However, like I said, I just really wanted to build a coffee shop in the world of Copperdale, because I just thought it would be such a lovely addition to this town. I mean, like, the world of Copperdale to me, it feels like we're, you know, out in the sticks a little bit. I feel like everyone knows everyone, and I feel like a coffee shop is such a perfect place to kind of have a bit of like a sense of community, in a sense. Like, your Sims can pop in here on a Sunday and see their neighbour and have a chit chat. Like, I just love the idea of having like a small town little coffee shop. And so I was a bit and ahhing about what I was going to do with it, because like I said, I'd kind of already planned in my head for this to be a starter home. And basically I've now had a bit of a rejig of my save, and basically, you know where the fairground is in the world of Copperdale, in more of like the woodsy area, if you're familiar, where you can swim about. I was going to have another community lot over there, but I was thinking that, well, that could actually just be a really good spot to have the starter home in my save. And so, yeah, I've decided to have a little bit of a rejig. I'm telling you this because I think I have mentioned before that this was going to be a starter home in my save file, and so just to kind of keep you in the loop. But yeah, now I have pretty much finished this whole entire town square of this world. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still have got a few different lots left to do in kind of like the outback, if you want to put it that way, of Copperdale. And I also do still need to build a auditorium. Is that how you say it? It's not a word where I'm from, so I'm probably butchered that, but I still need to build that little like prom venue, if you want to put it that way, for my save. But yeah, like the town centre, which I think in the game is called Prescott Square, I have completed every single lot now in this area of my save file, which is just so, honestly, it's just so exciting. And also, I just love each of the individual lots so much. I feel like the way that I've been able to kind of build all these different community venues, I just feel like it's going to be so fun for gameplay. In total, in this particular neighbourhood, there is 5 lots. We have 2 residential. One of them I made into a slightly bigger, kind of like classic American suburban family home, and then one of them is for a pre-existing family, and yeah, they live on like a little 20 by 15. But then the other 3 lots, yeah, I've been able to make them into community lots. But I feel like I've done a really good job, not to like toot my own horn, but I'm just really proud of all the individual venues in this particular area. I started off by building a boba tea and thrift shop. I built that one where the original one is when you enter a brand new save file, but yeah, if your Sims want to, they can pop in there, they can go and do a little bit of charity shopping, you know, have a look at some second-hand clothing. I also made it so with the boba tea shop, your Sims can of course go and order a drink if they fancy, but then on the upstairs level, it's kind of like I tried to make it into a bit of like a comedy club, but then also maybe your Sim's a singer and they want to perform at like a little bar or something, and so there's kind of like a little stage portion attached to that one. But then also on the same lot, I made it so there is a nail salon alongside with a laundromat, which in all fairness, if you think about it, your Sims could actually spend a good chunk of their day there, because maybe they're going to the charity shop, but maybe they want to put their clothes that they're gonna, you know, give to the charity shop in the wash beforehand, so you could just pop into the laundromat, and then maybe after you've done finishing, you know, up with the charity shop, you could go and get your nails done, and then after you've got your nails done, go and pop next door and go and get a boba and go upstairs and, you know, watch some comedy or something. But yeah, that was the first community lot, which kind of has like 4 or 5 different like mini lots intertwined with it. And then a couple of months ago, I built a roller rink and arcade, which I built that where the library is originally when you enter a brand new save file. And pretty much for that one, I really wanted to have a roller rink for teenagers to visit in my savings. So yeah, that one is a small business. So there is an apartment on top, and there's a guy that lives there with his teenage son. They've got this whole backstory and stuff, but that's really fun because your Sims can go roller skating, and you don't have to like try and search for all the different worlds to find one of the roller rinks that kind of like spawn into the game. There's kind of like a designated area for one. But with the arcade, I placed down loads of different arcade machines in there. We've got some like old computers. I think I also placed down a ping pong table and just loads of different like random gameplay stuff. But then the last community lot in just this one section is this one, which is, yeah, like I said, the cafe and the tattoo parlour, which for this one, kind of similar to the other venues in this one neighbourhood, I did try and jam pack it with loads of different activities and skills and just basically stuff for your Sims to interact with. I mean, you can see over here, I'm currently coming in and I'm actually trying to size down some simoleons to make it look like they're inside of someone's hat, because I basically wanted there to be a spot on this lot where if your Sims wanted to, if they're maybe like a musician or something, they could play a guitar for tips. And so when I was doing it, I was thinking whenever I'm in town, I walk past someone that's maybe like playing guitar on the street, or maybe they're having a little sing-song. Normally you have like an open guitar case, you can kind of give them a couple of quid. Sometimes though, they do have like a little hat on the floor, and so I tried to do that, and I tried to rotate a hat that we got from the Everyday Clutter kit and, you know, make it so it was like got some simoleons in. But the hat itself, I thought it was going to be like a nice shell in the inside, but it was actually a really hard like footprint to try and put some coins in, so I scrapped that idea and yeah, I put down a little jar instead with a few different simoleons in. But yeah, the lot itself, even though it's only going to be technically a tattoo parlour, so your Sims can come here and get a tattoo, and then also a coffee shop, so you know your Sims can have a cup of coffee, I also try to scatter around so many different like gameplay objects, so many different things that your Sims can interact with. On the upstairs level, alongside with that little busking area, I placed down a bubble blower, so your Sims can go up there with their friends and, you know, use the bubble blower, look over the town of Copperdale. I also place on the outside loads of different either garages or murals, so if your Sims want to, they can come here and they can do a little bit of graffiti. There is also some outdoor seating, which you can see I'm actually just finishing up the exterior now and just placing down some of your Sims to sit outside and, you know, drink their coffee or their tea, whatever their preference is. But on the inside upstairs level of the cafe, I made it so it's like a really comfy chill out area. I was thinking it would be like a really good study spot for like your Sims to do their homework in or something, and so up there I placed down loads of different sofas, but then I also placed down like bookcases so they can read. I placed down like a foosball table, so you know it's just extra things for your Sims to do. And like I said, coming into this build, I really wanted to initially build a coffee shop, but as I just got through the build and I started progressing, I was just having so much fun just thinking about all the different like gameplay opportunities. But either way, moving over, as you can see, I've actually now started coming in and decorating the inside of the first building, which is the tattoo parlour. Now, it's something that I wanted to mention because you're going to see me do it quite a lot. I keep on going into half walls up, half walls down mode. I'm sorry if it's really annoying, but basically when I was building, I didn't want this to be so overcluttered and so overpowered with all these different decorations that when you go into half walls up, half walls down mode, half of the decorations you can still see when theoretically you shouldn't be able to see them, because basically sometimes if you misplace a painting onto a wall and then you go into half walls up, half walls down mode, if it's not placed correctly, then you can see it even though you might not want to see it. And so I am really sorry, it's a little bit annoying, but coming into this build where it is such a small lot, because I'm only building on a 20 by 15, I knew that I wanted it to feel, you know, like an actual tattoo parlour, and next door I wanted it to feel like an actual legitimate coffee shop. But in case you play in half walls up, half walls down, I don't want you to like be struggling in terms of gameplay. Like, I want you to make it as easy as possible. And so yeah, you can see when I keep on placing down like different decals into the walls or different posters, I keep on going into half walls up, half walls down. But it was purely for like gameplay perspective. I just didn't want it to be annoying if you did decide to yeah, download this build. But something that you can see that I placed down behind like the initial like entrance area into this tattoo parlour is multiple different sketches of tattoos. Now, like I've already said, since the Businesses and Hobbies expansion pack came out, which by the way, with the Businesses and Hobbies EP, that is where we got the introduction for your Sims to, you know, either own a tattoo parlour or maybe, you know, go and get a tattoo done at a tattoo parlour. But we got it from that pack. But ever since that DLC has been out, I've only actually ever built one tattoo parlour, and it was when I had early access for the new expansion pack. And so when I initially built that tattoo parlour a few months ago, it was earlier this year, but I didn't even know that there was all these different beautiful sketches that were basically unlocked unless you get your sim to paint them or like to draft them up, if you want to put it that way. And so before I came into this build, I got another sim to basically come in and using the digital sketch pad just do loads of different random tattoos. And basically once I got a good handful of them, I then put them into a little room and I saved it to my library. And then you would have seen when I came in and I started decorating the tattoo parlour itself, I kind of like plonked out this room onto like the exterior, and then as I go throughout like decorating the inside, I kind of like pick little paintings up. But yeah, in case you have never seen all them different paintings that are placed on the wall kind of like by the initial entrance, they are just like sketches of all these different tattoos that yeah, your Sims can do in the game. I was a bit gutted once I posted that initial tattoo parlour back in like March kind of time when I had the early access. I was gutted that I didn't even realise that that was a thing that you could do. I think it's because when you go into the debug menu for the Businesses and Hobbies expansion pack, them different sketches aren't available to us. You actually have to do a bit of graft, and you actually have to get your Sims to actually stand there and, you know, draw them out. But no, it's definitely worth it. And if you fancy, let me know and I can upload the little room that I created onto the gallery. It hasn't got that many. I mean, I don't know the total amount of different like tattoo drawings there is. I tried to Google it. Google weren't telling me anything. So I've got, I think like 6 or 7 or something. But yeah, let me know if you want it. I can pop it onto my gallery and you can download it and implement all these different tattoo sketches into your builds. But either way, as you would have just seen, I finished up the initial entrance and then I moved over and quickly did the little tiny bathroom. Now, like I said, there is no like residential sections on this venue. I want it to be purely just, you know, a community lot. No one's going to wander upstairs and start sleeping in someone's bed or, you know, doing anything like that. I wanted it to be purely commercial, but I still wanted to include, you know, toilets in case your Sims need a wee. And so there ends up being one toilet in the tattoo parlour. The tattoo parlour, I mean, you can probably see by this point anyway, but it's a very small space. But then there is another 2 toilets in next door's cafe. And so I feel like your Sims have got enough in case they need a wee. At least your Sims sorted. The townies can kind of like sort themselves out or something. But yeah, in the actual tattoo parlour itself, it is quite a small little shop. But I mean, I've been in 2 different tattoo parlours in my life. I haven't got a tattoo. I'm petrified of needles, but I've been with people when they've got them. And both of the tattoo parlours that I've been in, they've been really small on the inside. And so coming into this build, I wasn't really too fussed about making this space like massive. I mean, of course, if you wanted to, you could download this build and maybe wanted to change some things around it. Maybe you do want to make it so there is an apartment on the upstairs, and maybe if you wanted to, you could remove this little like seating waiting room area over here, and then you can make space for another like little like tattoo bench, because there only ends up being 1 in this build. But I feel like that's alright, you know, only got 1 tattoo artist working here, and so I feel like one you should be good. But yeah, I really wanted to have some sort of like little waiting area outside where your Sims will go and get a tattoo. I'm just thinking, you know, sometimes if you was to go and get a tattoo, I've seen it on like TV programmes, can't remember the name of it, I'll put it on the screen, but there was this TV show that I used to watch, used to be on telly, and people used to come into this tattoo studio and they used to have, in their opinion, really bad tattoos, and they wanted to get them covered up. And so they would sit around this little sofa area and they would kind of give them kind of like stencils of potential tattoos. This is basically what I'm doing over here. I tried to basically move objects, some sketches, rotate them round and then plonk them down onto a coffee table. I was just thinking that they were like stencils of, yeah, maybe a tattoo that your Sims are going to get. In case you're curious, the ones that I've used, them little drawings, they are from the Artist Studio kit, but I used the colour swatch of them that looks like Grim Reaper and kind of like the Joker, and, you know, like kind of like a very, I feel like people have tattoos of that. I mean, there is some other beautiful drawings on them sketches, but I feel like out of all the 4 swatches, they are the most likely of tattoos that people would get. But also on the table as well, next to it, I didn't want to have more sketches because I didn't want to like clutter it up too much and make it feel a little bit claustrophobic on the coffee table. And so what I did instead is I rotated some vinyl stickers that we got from the high school years expansion pack, and I was just thinking that they were just stickers on the actual coffee table, but you know, I basically just finished up that little section, and now I've moved over into where your Sims would actually get the tattoo. So in here you can already see I placed down the little tattoo. What is it called? Is it called like a tattoo bench, tattoo table? Basically where your Sims would lay down and, yeah, get a tattoo. I was trying to be very strategic in the way that I placed around the items, and so you'll see multiple different times. I keep on highlighting the tattoo table to make sure I had enough room for Sims to get, you know, at the back of it, at the front of it, and then also either side of it. I must admit, I do kind of struggle when it comes around to building community lots. I don't build that many that often, but I do need to pull my finger out because I've got so many that I've got on my to-do list to build. But yeah, I actually do really struggle when it comes around to building community venues because I always try and think of like gameplay of multiple different Sims. Because the thing is, if I build a regular family home, there's only really going to be your Sims and maybe a few of their mates there. But where I was thinking, with like this particular lot, it's going to be a small business in my save file. There's going to be multiple different Sims, whether they're coming here to, you know, get a tattoo. Maybe they're going next door and they're going to go grab a cup of coffee. Maybe they're just coming here to spray graffiti outside and maybe use a bubble blower. It's just going to be jam-packed full of all these different Sims. And so, I know it probably doesn't seem like it because I did add quite a lot of detail into this field, but I was trying to be mindful of like gameplay and manoeuvring around objects. And yeah, your Sims have got enough space to get around the tattoo table, but over here on this like little back bench bit, I really wanted to have kind of like a little section where I imagine in my head your Sims, when they go and get a tattoo, they would, you know, get maybe sterilised. I don't know, like I said, I've not got one, so I don't really know, but maybe they would get like lotion put on them. But one thing that I placed down on this little table, which I was really happy with this idea, I placed down an individual razor. Now, I just know a few people in real life that have got tattoos on, for example, like their legs. The people that I'm thinking about, by the way, they're men, and so they quite naturally have quite a lot of body hair. And sometimes when you get a tattoo and you've got a lot of body hair, you have to like shave the hair around it. It's such a small detail, but I was so proud of thinking about that when I was doing this little table over here, because in my mind, that is a razor that, you know, maybe it's just got a fresh blade in it, you know, it's been cleaned for the next person, but that is a razor waiting to be used on your Sim's leg if they don't shave their body hair and they wanted to get a tattoo or something. But on the actual table itself, again, kind of like a following theme with the coffee table in the waiting area, I kind of wanted it to feel a little bit cluttered up and just a little bit more like it belonged in a tattoo parlour, because I really wanted to use this one particular kind of like bench area where I ended up placing down like the razor, and also placed down like a little mirror so your Sims can look at their back if they get a back tattoo, and like random bits and bobs. But the actual item itself, the cabinet, is completely black on the bottom. The version that I've used has got some stickers, but the top like counter bit is completely white, and it just looked like, to me, it was too clean for a tattoo parlour. And so you would have seen I came in and I did a very similar thing to the coffee table, and I basically just rotated some graffiti and put it on top of it. It doesn't affect gameplay. It's purely because, to me, the tattoo like side bench, if we can even call it that, it just looks a little bit too tidy for, yeah, what I was thinking would be a tattoo parlour. But also in this room as well, you can see I placed down this cabinet in the corner which looks like it's got like paint splattered up it. Maybe it's tattoo ink. Highly unlikely, because I feel like that is so dangerous, but let's just pretend, because it kind of goes to the idea that I've got in my head. But then also you would have seen on the walls I placed down some more like tattoo stencils. And actually, yeah, one thing over here, I wanted there to be like a long mirror. So say for example your Sim has just got like a really long tattoo, maybe they've got something going from their shoulder all the way down to their ankle, and they wanted to have a look at it afterwards. I wanted to have a mirror, but then next to the mirror I found this one wall decal which is from the Lovestruck expansion pack. It's one of them like hidden swatches, like I feel like you wouldn't know it's going to be available to you, because the default swatch for that item is like a big heart or something. But I found all these different Polaroids and I placed it behind the mirror, or like next to the mirror, and in my mind I was thinking, well, what about if they're maybe customers that come here all the time and they always get tattoos? Maybe there's going to be some proper like tattooed up people in my save file, and this is where their tattoo artist is, you know, maybe they come here and that is where they always get their tattoos done. But I was thinking having like little Polaroids of maybe like different customers was just kind of like a nice, almost like nod to what I imagine is quite a nice community, because I mean, tattoo artists, they all seem so friendly and everyone just seems to like know each other. And I was just more so thinking, you know, sometimes when you go to certain bars or restaurants and there might be pictures of like random people in real life behind a picture of a bar because they're like really good customers. I was just thinking of that kind of situation. But yeah, I was thinking all the different Polaroids were of all different previous Sims that have had their tattoos done. But either way, besides the point, moving over, as you can see, I've now moved on into the next building, which is the coffee shop or cafe. Now, like I've already said, for this one, and I know it's really just like, what are you on about, because it looks nothing like it, but I was really trying to create the atmosphere in here of Luke's Diner from the TV show Gilmore Girls. It looks absolutely nothing like it. I mean, Luke's Diner on the inside is blue, and this is, you know, it's very brown in here, but basically I really wanted to have that really homey, warm feeling inside this coffee shop, which whenever I watch Gilmore Girls, that's the kind of feeling I get whenever I see Luke's Diner on the screen. I try to do a similar thing with in Luke's Diner, and by the way, if you've never seen Gilmore shows, don't worry, but basically he's got loads of different like odd paintings on the walls here and there, and I just tried to go for that kind of idea. Currently over here, I'm trying to do kind of like the back of like the coffee making station section, and so I placed down some little like wall decorations of different French presses. I placed down different like pots and just random bits and bobs, but then also on the very top shelf I placed down some individual coffee bags, which I was thinking was like extra stock to yet be brewed, but something that I didn't hear actually, which I really want to talk about because it's so small, but it just really helped make this coffee shop feel as like warm and cozy as I wanted it to. On one of the walls I placed down these little like paper like decorations, and they're meant to be some like autumnal decorations in the game. I'm thinking the world of Copperdale, it's a small town, like I said, like I really love this world, like I always seem to play here myself, but I love the idea of this coffee shop. Maybe every month or so they host all these different events, and maybe in like the town centre they all get together and maybe they have like a fair or they have parades and stuff. And I was thinking that some of the different decorations that I put onto the wall were kind of left over from maybe like the autumn festival, or maybe they did something just in regards to entering the season of autumn. Maybe they went to like a pumpkin patch, or maybe they put on a pumpkin patch in the back garden. But yeah, I really liked the addition of having these like little leftover, it looks like paper cutout decorations. I haven't currently got any on the wall in here, but I do add them in shortly. But yeah, to me it just felt so homey and realistic, and I love this build so much, like I said, but I love the way this coffee shop turned out. I felt like when I was building it, it would just smell so good in here. Like the smell of coffee and warm books as well, because I placed down some bookcases like in the initial like entrance alley area. I love this build. But something that I did that I really wanted to mention is shortly I'm going to pull out a hot chocolate tray. Now the one that I pull out is just from the Sims 4 base game, but I used it as kind of like a decorational piece. I'm only mentioning it just because I always try and make my builds as functional as possible, and whenever you download a build off the gallery, you shouldn't run into any problems if you downloaded it from me, because I do thoroughly playtest it. But I placed down this hot chocolate tray onto kind of like a little radio in the back room, and I was just thinking, you know, sometimes when you go to like a cafe or a restaurant and you have someone coming around collecting all the different dirty glasses and dirty mugs and stuff, the hot chocolate tray kind of reminded me of that. And so I moved objects here onto a radio station, and then to kind of get the point across that it's not going to be functional, I placed down some dirty coffee mugs to kind of add a little bit more sense of, you know, people actually visit here. That is people's dirty coffee mugs. But you know, I did just want to mention that. And also on the downstairs, again, I'm so sorry, I completely spoke over it, but I tried to make it so your Sims, they should be able to maneuver freely. Like I've got enough space in front of the coffee bar, so you shouldn't run into any problems if you do decide to download this build. But either way, moving over, as you can see, I've now popped onto the upstairs portion. I quickly did the bathroom, and now I'm coming in and trying to create some sort of like gallery wall. Now for the cafe, I tried to lay it out in a little bit of like sections depending on what you wanted to do. So when you'd walk in through the front door downstairs, that is where your Sims can tap in, you know, because this is going to be a small business, but they can pay to maybe attend this place if you want to run it that way. But then they can order a coffee like pretty much straight away as soon as you walk in through the door. And then if you want to, you can go through an archway into the back centre back area, and out the back, as you would have seen, I placed down like loads of different dining room tables. I placed down some that's got some laptops on. I was thinking maybe some students are doing their homework here, maybe they're working on a massive project together or something. There is kind of like some dining seating out in the back room. There is also some seating outside, you know, we've got like a little back portion, and then also I popped down some dining room tables and chairs at the very front of the build as well. But then on the upstairs portion, I just thought that your Sims might want to come up here and honestly just hang out with their friends. I ended up placing down some sofas up here alongside with a little bookcase. There is also the toilet, so you know, if your Sims need a wee, they can, you know, just pop in and use the loo. Then I also placed down a darts board up here in case your Sims wanted to do that. There is also a foosball table. There is also access to the roof of the tattoo parlour, so your Sims can go out there and, you know, use a bubble blower, or maybe they want to do some busking or something. I tried to lay it out in terms of gameplay and yeah, what you want to do. And so yeah, I really hope if you ever do download this build, you enjoy it. But other than that, I'm actually going to go around the build, finish it off, make some final details, and that is pretty much it. So anyway guys, I'm going to end this voiceover right here. As always, you can download this build via the gallery. My gallery ID is JessicapieYT, or just search for the hashtag JessicapieYT or just the hashtag Jessicapie. As always, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and as always, if you do like my content then please do subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in my next Sims 4 speedrunning video. Bye guys.